Colleague, Prime Minister of Dominica and outgoing chairman of this important institution, colleague, heads of government, and of course members of the Monetary Council, colleague, ministers of government of Grenada, and other parliamentarians, members of the diplomatic community, permanent secretaries and other distinguished members of the public service, members of the banking community and other distinguished members of the private sector institution in our country. My dear members of the press, my dear sisters and brothers all, first of all, I want to welcome all my colleagues to the Spice country. And I always say, whenever you come here, you must make sure you taste the spices, because I guarantee when you go back, you will be a better person for all concerned who are associated with you. Friends, let me first congratulate my predecessor, the Honourable Roosevelt Scarrett, on his successful tenure as chairman of this bank, especially after the passage of Hurricanes Irma and Maria, because I went to Dominica and I saw it, what existed then for your country. And it brought me back to 2004 in Grenada. And I knew how I felt. So I knew how you felt. Your selflessness and generosity during that very difficult period was a fine expression of your commitment to regional cooperation and solidarity. I assure you, my colleague, of my commitment to support you and the people of Dominica as you continue your long and arduous journey of reconstruction and as you strive to become a climate-resilient country. I wish to join the outgoing chairman in commending the governor and his team on the bank's overall good performance in the past financial year. But I'm not surprised, because he led us through a difficult period too. And he was well taught under a distinguished lady who is sitting here this morning, Mrs. Antoine. I also want to commend the bank on the progress made with the implementation of the strategic plan as captured in its well-designed and colorful annual report. The governor has indeed advised us that we should expect continued growth in 2018 and 2019. This is welcome news as we confront the many challenges facing our region and with the uncertainty in the international community, as he mentioned, the various variables which could easily affect us. Of course, it is always easier to pursue reforms in an atmosphere of increased economic activity. Sisters and brothers, during my period as chairman, we will have to tackle several issues. If I had to summarize or thrust in a single phrase, it would be implementation for transformation. I would like to highlight some of the issues to be pursued. Fiscal and debt resilience. As part of the building of resilience in the ECCU, we have taken note of the bank's strong advocacy for the enactment of fiscal resilience frameworks in member countries. Grenada, in fact, has led the way in the ECCU to adopt fiscal responsibility legislation and establish an independent fiscal responsibility oversight committee which reports not to the executive branch but to the parliament of the country. Grenada has been able to reduce its debt to GDP ratio from a high of 108% in 2013 to 69% at the end of 2017. Grenada is now on track to attain the Monetary Council target of 60% by 2020. This puts us well ahead of the 2030 timeline. And sisters and brothers, we owe it all to the tough but necessary decisions that we have taken over the past 5 years. It is equally pleasing to note that Grenada's economy recorded an average growth of 5.8% over the same period of this fiscal turnaround. In other words, during a period of structural adjustment, we're able to grow our economy. Clear demonstration, you can be fiscally responsible and still grow. Grenada clearly, therefore, stands ready to share our experiences with our brothers and sisters in the entire region. But just to see, I believe the most significant aspect of that success had to be the country coming together, all major stakeholders, the business community, the trade union movement, the leadership of the church community. And I see many members of the Conference of Churches there, distinguished Bishop of the Catholic Church and Reverend James, who led us so well. And his prayer is almost a prayer for economic success. So I love it. The NGO community, and clearly also the government. We made a pact to work together. While we may have, on some occasions, have differences, but we agree to work together. And that, to me, has been the major reason. Many other things worked. But had it not been for that factor, we would not be talking about that level of growth at this particular time. Last year, the Monetary Council agreed that all member countries would table their medium-term debt management strategies in the respective parliaments. It is therefore encouraging, brothers and sisters, to observe that all member countries have now completed their strategies, and we look forward to them being tabled in the Parliament during my tenure as chairman. Sisters and brothers, I also commend the ECCB on its initiative to formally enlist the support of the Paris Forum, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank to develop debt-resilient instruments for member countries of the ECCU and other small states. This initiative represents a necessary and appropriate advance on pioneering efforts undertaken by Grenada in 2014 and 2015 to embed a hurricane clause in debt agreements with bilateral and commercial creditors, dealing with the threat of de-risking. Sisters and brothers, The potential loss of corresponding banking relations continues to pose a serious threat, and we must remain vigilant and relentless in our efforts to combat this very significant threat. In July 2016, our Monetary Council took the important decision to have the ECCB assume responsibility for anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism, supervision of entities licensed under the Banking Act. Our banks, as well as the international community, including correspondent banks, the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, and the IMF, have welcomed this critical and important and far-reaching decision. We applaud the bank's efforts over the past 18 months to build its capacity in this new area of responsibility. Furthermore, colleagues, we urge countries that have not yet passed the amendments to facilitate this decision to do so in the shortest possible time. Equally important are the steps taken, colleagues, to adopt our common standards for countries with citizenship by investment programs. These efforts ought to be intensified given the importance of those programs for economic development and financial stability. I hold this one very close to my heart, because I know if there any problem occurring in any one of our jurisdictions, they will not say it's Grenada. They will not say it's Antigua Dominica. According to the people, they say it's Alawi. And that is, therefore, reason why we must, my friends, my colleagues, cannot be seen as competing, but working together, because I believe there's enough business there for all of us to prosper. Addressing bank fees and charges. Sisters and brothers, the matter of high bank fees and charges is one that concerns all our citizens, and in fact, all our members of the Monetary Council. That said, we also understand that banks are facing rising compliance costs because of various international requirements, not of your own making. But we have to face the requirements of anti-money laundering and combating financing of terrorism. These are real threats. We call on all our banks and ECCU Banking Association to become more proactive in informing customers of these developments and helping them access no-cost or low-cost options where they are possible. Credit Bureau. It is the Monetary Council's expectation that a firm will be licensed to operate a credit bureau in the ECCU. And I believe that was already articulated forcefully by the governor, so I would not say much more about this. The Eastern Caribbean Partial Credit Guarantee Corporation. As members of the Monetary Council, we are keen to see more access to credit for small businesses as well as development of the sector that is critical to job creation and increased economic opportunities. I hasten to point out our banks need to get far more involved in supporting business initiative of some of our bright young people in the OECS in the technological area, because that is where the future of our country is lying. Now that all 6 independent members of the ECCU have enacted appropriate legislation, an inaugural board has been appointed. We look forward to the launch of the partial guarantee scheme in the continuing months. In conclusion, sisters and brothers, it is with a great sense of responsibility and optimism about the future opportunities of a currency union that I now assume the responsibility as chairman of this important institution. I am very mindful of the existing challenges that confront the currency union. But as I accept this responsibility, I'm equally confident that we will together surmount these challenges and implement the initiatives we have agreed upon. Together, together, together. In this regard, we'll continue our engagement with the OECS Commission and our social partners. I will be counting on the support of my fellow council members, clearly the governor, the board of directors, the management and staff of this noble institution, as we work together towards transforming the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union together as one unit. Thank you, and I wish us all the best as we face the challenges of this important period. Thank you all.